Welcome to 2022. I am going to give you my predictions for what's going to happen this year. Now, I'm going to do this in 3 parts. We're going to start with the small stuff like gadgets that are on the horizon. Then some of the broader technology shifts that will prevail this year. And finally, some of the big technological shifts that are underway. I'm not going to do a big preamble this time. Let's jump right in. Let's start on the lighter side here. We all love gadgets, or at least I know I do. That's part of what I focus on here on this channel. And right around the corner, we have CES 2022, which is the trade show that usually kicks off here in the new year. And it's always interesting to see the concepts and future ideas that are coming out of the big tech companies as well as startups. And I'm interested in a few things so far. For one thing, LG is in the gaming PC business now with their first ever gaming laptop, the 17G90Q, part of their Ultra Gear line of products. Plus, LG also is unveiling something totally different, a gardening appliance, essentially a mini fridge that can automatically provide the necessary light and water for plants to grow. This is really interesting as more people might be turning to grow their own food if it's practical to do so. Next up, Intel's new Alder Lake CPUs are also beginning to hit the market. They're totally new and they follow Apple's trend a little bit by having special performance and efficiency cores. And the chips they're unveiling for laptops are said to rival the performance of Apple's M1 chips. I will wait to believe that when I see it, but that would mean better battery life and performance could be on the horizon for a lot more people. And don't forget that at CES, all the big manufacturers like to show off their new TVs and the related tech. Yes, there's going to be folding displays, rolling displays, those types of things. But in terms of what's actually coming out to consumers, don't expect a lot to change this year, but we will continue to see bigger TVs in the 80s and 90 inches range becoming more affordable this year, even sub $1,000. Now, beyond CES, you can expect new tech from the usual suspects. In the first half of the year, we'll see an iPhone SE refresh, Apple's budget iPhone. It'll have a new processor, either the A14 or the A15, and it will have 5G. But don't expect a redesign. It'll have the same 4.7-inch screen and home button layout with the same price at $569. Of course, we'll also see an iPhone 14 and 14 Pro this year, and those should land in the fall. It's pretty early, but the rumors at this point are pointing towards a notchless display with under-display Face ID sensors and a hole punch camera. It's also rumored to get rid of the camera bump for a flat back design, and we should see it ship with an A16 processor. Samsung will also release an S22 and S22 Ultra in the first half of the year, a follow-up to their very successful S21 last year. It's not clear if Samsung is going to bring their Note line of phones back. And so some people are speculating that the S22 will have an S Pen slot like the previous Notes. Why get rid of the Note? Well, it's probably because Samsung is focusing on foldables. One of the big hits from last year was the Z Flip 3, a foldable phone with a compact design, but unfolds to a 6.7-inch display. It's great to see more diverse and interesting phone designs. And in 2022, Samsung will release a follow-up to the Z Flip 3 as well as to the Z Fold 3. And honestly, folding phones are getting better and better year over year, and so I'm excited to see it. But Google is not being left out of the party. The Pixel 6 was a pretty huge success in 2021, relatively speaking. Google's new custom designed Tensor chip impressed, and their camera system was better than ever. And what really got people's attention was the price. At $799 Canadian, it's one of the best value for money phones around. I'm not sure yet what we'll see from a Pixel 7, but it will likely include a second generation Tensor chip. And there's a lot of speculation floating around that Google will also deliver a Pixel watch this year. At this point, it looks like it's going to have a round watch face, and it will incorporate a lot of the health tracking features from Fitbit, which is also owned by Google. I think that's going to be interesting because one of the things holding me back pushback from making the Pixel my main phone was that a companion smartwatch is a must, and I just didn't feel there was one that was tight enough in the ecosystem to make that happen. One other thing that I'm sure we can expect is a new set of processors from Apple using their custom Apple silicon design. And so far they've released the M1, M1 Pro, and M1 Max. Those processors have been running on their MacBook Air, Mac Mini, iMac, and MacBook Pro computers. However, we're likely to see an updated M2 processor, which will be a step up in terms of performance and efficiency. This means that we'll see spec bumps for the previously mentioned computers. However, there's a lot of speculation that we'll see additional Macs using Apple silicon, such as new versions of the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro. The MacBook Air is also expected to get a complete redesign, so be on the lookout for that. I'm curious to hear your gadget predictions. I know I left a lot out, but what are you most excited for when it comes to gadgets in 2022? Leave a comment down below. Okay, let's get a little bit less specific now and zoom out a bit. Let's talk about the big technology trends in 2022, or at least what I see coming. First off, in case anyone was wondering, the work from home trend is here to stay. It's true that eventually we'll reach a turning point where things can get back to normal, but in 2022, it will become clear that the workplace will never be the same. According to research company Forrester, it's estimated that 10% of companies will go fully remote in 2022, while another 60% will run a hybrid model for the long term. This, of course, has already had its challenges. There are certain elements that are missing when you're fully remote. Things like brainstorming and networking just aren't quite as effective. But there are many other benefits to a work from home policy, including quality of life for employees, mainly because there's no commute, but also because you can work from anywhere. There's been a lot of movement of employees around the country since remote work began, and employees want that type of freedom. You can see that starting to become apparent with a company like Apple, which, because of their commitment to secrecy, have always been staunchly against work from home. But it sounds like behind the scenes, their employees have not only been asking to maintain work from home, but Apple could be struggling with retention. Recently, Apple announced they're delaying their return to the office indefinitely and providing every employee $1,000 to outfit their home office. And Apple has been giving away tons of stock-based compensation to keep their product development teams from leaving. Last year, Pinterest paid almost $90 million to get out of a San Francisco office lease, citing work from home as the reason they no longer needed it. Expect this trend to continue, and for companies to find more ways to connect employees remotely. Bill Gates recently said that within 3 years, most company meetings will happen in the Metaverse, which is definitely part of the remote work puzzle. More on the Metaverse in a minute. Another trend which we'll see get a big boost this year is the electrification of the auto sector. Yes, EVs are going to take off this year. I've done a video on this in the past, near the beginning of 2021. I asked the question of whether it was going to be a breakout year for EVs, and I was pretty confident that it would be, but we haven't really seen that materialize as quickly as I thought. That's because of a few reasons. One is that EVs are still fairly expensive. The cheapest EVs in Canada still run you roughly $40,000 or more. For example, the Chevrolet Bolt is $39,000. The Nissan Leaf starts at $37,000. There's also a bit of fear and uncertainty about buying an EV. Range anxiety is still something a lot of folks have because they're worried about the lack of charging infrastructure. Of course, that's fair. The charging networks are still being built out, and there's much more charging locations that are required. But of course, most people would actually rarely use public charging because you have electrical outlets right in your home. And the range on most EVs is enough to get you everywhere you want to go and back. But the third factor is that EVs have been mostly talked about and a lot less have actually been shipped. A quick quick look on Car and Driver showed me where there's roughly 20 EVs you could buy today. Although with production and supply chain issues, there's very few that you could actually drive off in right away. However, there's over 50 new EVs expected to land in 2022 to 2023, and some of them are a big deal. You have new entrants in the market like Rivian with their R1T and R1S, which I think are going to make a big splash. But you've also got legacy automakers getting into the mix in a serious way. The Ford F-150 Lightning is going to represent a tipping point. It's a game changer because Ford is converting the best-selling pickup truck in the world into an electric vehicle. So far, there's been a lot of hype around EVs, and despite successes from Tesla, the space has still been relatively quiet. That's about to change in 2022. Okay, let's talk crypto. Now, I'm not a crypto expert, but it is based on technology. The blockchain, of course, which is becoming even more important in our daily lives, and it's becoming more mainstream. Most people have heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and of course, NFTs have been making headlines. Plus, it's easier than ever to buy and sell crypto. Even major exchanges have begun to offer it. As digital gathering places become more material, the currency of choice within them will not be the dollar. That's a major driving force for growth in new and existing currencies. However, crypto is also a hedge against inflation. We're seeing significant inflation due to both supply chain issues and government spending. And many people and institutions see Bitcoin as a deflationary currency, a store of value that will increase over time instead of decrease. Again, I'm not an expert here, but I anticipate the continued rise of crypto in 2022. As always, you gotta watch out for snake oil, and you gotta be careful, and you gotta do diligent research. Okay, let's zoom out even further and discuss some big technological shifts that I think will get serious in 2022. First off, we have to talk about the metaverse. Don't get me wrong, it's way overhyped. It doesn't even exist at this point. There's some disparate and unrelated systems out there that you could call metaverses if you think about the broad definition of a metaverse. Essentially, it's a virtual world of sorts where people can connect. It's different from a social network because there's a virtual or 3D environment. And if you think of it that way, there's metaverses today, like every MMO video game out there, or Minecraft or Fortnite, and so on. And some of the experiences within VR, which of course is an important part of any metaverse, are getting pretty interesting. But the vision that we hear about is a lot grander than what's available today. We hear about an interconnected and expanding set of experiences that you can jump between and still be on the metaverse. Kind of like you can jump between different websites on the internet. And the companies that are building these experiences, namely Facebook, Microsoft, Epic Games, they talk about interoperability. An example is that you'll have an avatar that's customizable, and you'll be able to move your avatar across these different experiences. You'll be able to buy virtual clothing for your avatar, and you can wear it anywhere in the metaverse. In my opinion, there's a lot of work to be done in order to get there. It's probably years away, but in 2022, we're gonna start to see the foundation of the metaverse form. Facebook, aka Meta, is likely to introduce more experiences this year for their Quest 2 headset, and they may even introduce a Quest 3 or Quest Pro model. Some of the experiences they've got besides VR games is a home platform, which is going to allow you to build a virtual home space and decorate it to your liking with virtual art, furniture, and outside environments. They also have workrooms, which allow you to meet and collaborate with colleagues in virtual conference rooms. Microsoft also has a metaverse mainly built for business. They've been rolling out Mesh for Microsoft Teams, which is a mixed reality experience for collaboration. They utilize their HoloLens products, which are AR, VR goggles. You can expect more from Microsoft this year as well. And Apple is rumored to get in the game this year as well. It's widely predicted that Apple will introduce their own mixed reality headset this year. And like Apple Apple always does, they're gonna bring their own unique spin to the metaverse. I'm not saying by the end of the year that we'll all be playing and working in the metaverse, but I think for skeptics out there, I think the vision is gonna be a lot clearer by the end of the year. The path towards a functioning, game-changing metaverse will be clear. Okay, one more bold prediction. In 2022, we're gonna take a fairly large step towards a self-driving car future, mainly thanks to Tesla. While a lot of companies are working on self-driving technology, Tesla is one of the furthest ahead, and they have the most data to work with. Tesla has been putting their full self-driving beta software in the hands of real users throughout 2021. With this beta, users can simply input a destination and have the car navigate all the way there. It's still a level 2 autonomy, which means the driver has to be ready to take the wheel at any time. And many users report that they do indeed need to take over. There's been some pretty dicey instances where the FSD software made some very poor choices. You might question the way that Tesla is going about testing in the open with potential risks, but what is undeniable is the fact that they are getting results. The software is improving rapidly, and Tesla has built another secret weapon. They've designed their own in-house supercomputer, which they call Dojo. This is going to allow them to take teraflops of video data that they're getting back from their fleet of over 1 million cars and run all of that through their machine learning process. Because Tesla is pulling data from its entire fleet, every time they sell a new car, they get a new data set. No other car company is doing anything like this. I think the pace of improvement in their FSD beta is going to increase rapidly. In fact, I think by the end of the year, they'll drop the beta part and have a V1 of the software ready to launch. It's still going to be level 2. There's just no way laws and regulations will allow for a complete self-driving experience this year, but the software will be functionally ready, save for certain edge cases. But the car will be able to tell you when it can and can't engage full self-driving, just like they do now with Tesla's autopilot feature. I do predict that thanks to Tesla's huge lead in self-driving, many car companies are going to end up licensing software from Tesla in the future, which means Tesla's car business may be only a small part of their revenue stream. Anyways, it's exciting times for self-driving technology. So those are some of my predictions for this coming year. Some of it's pretty obvious, like the gadgets that are set to come out. I'd be pretty shocked if there's no new iPhone or new Pixel, for example. But I wanted to include a couple of bold claims in there as well. Maybe in some cases I'm wrong. I'm not a futurist by trade, and I've done maybe a couple of hours research on each of these topics, so who knows? But honestly, it's just really fun to think about the future and make a few predictions about technology. And with that said, if you found this video interesting, click that like button so that more people can get this video recommended to them. And consider subscribing, because I'm always uploading more content and I try to offer a unique perspective on things. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.